I loved everything about the Citizen Academy. But actually, I was thinking about this morning, and my absolute favorite part of Citizen Academy was the first night when we all walked into this building. You greeted us at the door, and I didn't know what to expect, right? I didn't know the kind of people I'd be meeting. I didn't know what we would be doing on a day to day or week to week basis. And I walked into that conference room upstairs, and every single person was chatting and visiting and so excited to be there and to talk and learn more about Bismarck. And that was such a comforting, like, introduction to the Citizen Academy. That actually really stands out for me as a favorite moment. I think it's very easy to forget that the city of Bismarck doesn't operate out of one one area downtown, right? It's not just one centralized location making edicts across the entire city. It helped give a personal touch, I think, to see not just the heads of these divisions or agencies, but the staff that worked there and to talk to them in the place where they work. They didn't have to travel to a building that they're not used to or that they don't work in. We got to see people actually doing their jobs, actively talking about the things that they care about and sharing that with us. That was really, I don't know, that was really nice. You know, I came into the Citizen Academy thinking I knew a lot about the city, and I did know some about some departments that I've worked with or for, but it's very easy to forget how interconnected everything is, that everybody, has to work together and relies on each other, and what one department does affects the others. You divided it up across weeks and tried to, keep similar departments together for conversation purposes. But what was really impressive was, we could talk about something in week 2, and in week 6, we were constantly referring back to, well, do you remember when the engineering department said this, or when we talked to, the judge? It was interesting how everything overlapped, and that's not really a thing I expected when I first started in the academy. The Citizen Academy was a great experience in that it helped build a foundation of knowledge that me to carry forward in my general life. So I'm talking to people, whether it's at work or in my family or even out of state, when I'm just talking to friends or coworkers about Bismarck and about, maybe how their city runs or something that they're unhappy with when they live here. And I'm able to provide a broader context to that than maybe what they've picked up through one news article or one talking point that they've heard. It's nice to be able to provide kind of a concrete foundation. And that's what in my mind, that's what I picture the Citizen Academy as, is if it's not an intro to Bismarck, it's a building upon living here that allows me to understand and appreciate the city more fully. I think anybody could be a good candidate, provided that they care. I think that's the only qualification, is that you care about the city that you live in. It doesn't matter if you're old or young or what your occupation is. We had all swaths in that first group, people that came from all walks of life, and we bonded so well. That's not something I expected. I ran into 2 people just this past weekend when I was out running errands, and we were chatting about the Citizen Academy again, and it was delightful to make those community connections. So I really think you did a good job of curating the group, but I do think that if anybody wants to apply, that as long as they care about Bismarck, they'd be successful or enjoy it. I think Bismarck is a really great community, but I think it's kind of in our nature to either think we know about all that's going on here, or at least to fake it. And I think that people should apply so that they can back up what they're saying, or at least their opinions, and be able to speak to the city more fully. We got to talk to all of the departments. We got to talk not to just those leaders that are used to talking and presenting, about their departments, but then we got to talk to the staff that worked there. And it gives a human touch, which I think is really great, but it also gets us the behind the scenes. They know the questions we care about. They know the things that maybe people don't understand or are misinformed about. I think people are going to learn more about the things that they don't know about, that they are so easy to overlook, right? This city is not a vacuum. It's very easy to complain about the trees and know that's forestry. It's very easy to say, oh, my utility bill is so high, and blame like the water department or financials or whatever. But there's a lot more of the hidden departments, right? That, there's more to what's going on than what you're going to assume. We go to the fire department and they're talking not just about like, oh, we're going to go fight a fire today, but we're, all of the training they're doing, the equipment they have to upkeep for those edge cases that they have to be prepared for. And that's something I hadn't thought about. It's all of the edge cases that can happen in a community of our size. It's just getting bigger and bigger as time progresses, right? So we're not just talking about, small everyday instances, but yeah, it's the edge cases. And I think that those are really important to remember and to be able to talk about and communicate about clearly, so that when we're watching city operations, we can know that there's a lot more going into it than just, oh, well, I would like my clean water every day. Well, and I came home every week with like a list of various like notification and subscriptions I needed to sign up for through all of the various departments. And that's the one I really like, is the one through the water department of like, you used a lot of water yesterday. You should maybe check on that. And it's always when I got home from a trip and I'm doing like 7 loads of laundry. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I said it every week when you had us introduce ourselves, right? Like, I was born here, I was raised here, I'll probably die here. Like, Bismarck is my home. And any chance I get to learn more or be a bigger part of it, I'm going to take it.
I think the best place, and there were lots of good places to go see, but the water plant. The water plant was an amazing place, and they showed us how they purified the water and told us what high standards of water we really have. The people that work there have been there a long time, some of them, and they're very competent and feel really good about Bismarck's water. And I believed it was good water to begin with, but now I think the water plant was just an excellent tour. Well, I think, I don't think very many citizens have a good understanding of what the city really does and the complexity of it all. So what it did was it gave me a far better understanding than I had about what the city actually does and how complicated things really are, and how we really depend upon talented, competent city employees to make sure things are done right. And I was impressed. I was impressed with the employees. And when you see employees that are really good at their jobs and committed to their professions, and they've been there for 20 and 30 years and more, something right is going on. Something right is going on when somebody stays that long. They've got a decent work environment, and they're being treated well, and they're talented. So I was impressed more than anything with the talented city employees I interacted with. Maybe that we had such an extensive fire protection system, 5 different fire stations. I didn't realize that, and the equipment involved and the cost of the equipment. That's expensive stuff. I guess that was one of the more surprising things that I thought of the whole operation. One of the things that I was really impressed with as well was the public works shop and how big it is and how much the city actually does in-house, and it saves the city a lot of money by doing it in-house. And very well equipped and talented folks over there. I guess, I wasn't expecting, I didn't have any guesses about the staff before I went into the program, but it was just that they were very competent and committed. And actually, some of them, they were really excited about what they do. The water treatment folks, the landfill people, I mean, they were excited about the jobs they do for our city, and that's a good thing to have, a positive work environment, a positive attitude. The mayor and the city council members. But beyond that, anybody that was considering running for the mayor or city council, certainly this would be a wonderful thing to do. Anybody that's really interested in government. And maybe some people that are naysayers about government or government critics in general without, much thought about it. I think if they would take this academy classes, they'd probably come to understand that things are more complicated than what they sometimes first appear. I would tell something, I would probably encourage someone that kind of got a negative perspective about the city or government in general to take this class to maybe educate them on how things really work in life and how our city works, how complicated it is. Since I've taken the class, I've talked to lots of people when they, mention something. The big thing in August and September were the water bills, okay? Well, I understand fully the issue of the water bills, and I had a pretty good understanding of before I took the class, but, anybody that is critical or whatever, if they took this class, I think they'd have at least a better understanding. That doesn't say that you shouldn't scrutinize government. Doesn't mean government shouldn't be held accountable. None of that stuff. They all should be, but, do it in a fair and honest way, and this would help educate lots of folks.
All the different departments that we visited were very unique in their own way, but I especially liked the police department. At the time when we went through the academy, there had just been that shooting in Minneapolis where the cop mistaken her taser for her pistol. And so when we went through the police department, we were actually able to see what a taser looked like. We were able to feel the pistol. We were able to actually go to their firing range and shoot a pistol. We were each given like 14 rounds, I believe it was, and got to do target practice. That we learned things like the city has an interactive map of the entire city that shows the traffic flow and where people are and the flow of the traffic. And we learned how the police department is funded, how many officers are on a shift. It was a lot of fun. It was fun visiting departments like the fire department. It was amazing while we were learning about the department, an actual fire call came in. And the guys weren't dressed in their firefighting uniforms. And from the moment that call came in, within a minute and a half, the trucks they were dressed and the trucks were on the road off to fight a fire. It was amazing to learn that the city of Bismarck has, on the average in 2021, 108 fire calls in a year, which I just find that, amazing. That the fire department has maps of the floor plans of all the high-risk buildings so that they're prepared for the fire should it arise in that building, that they have maps that they know where the high-risk fire calls come in from the different areas of the city. It was amazing to learn the forestry department, that how many trees they chop down in a year, that citizens can be reimbursed for the cost of putting a tree on the boulevard, and yet when we go to remove that tree, we need a permit from the city to remove that. It's interesting, we learned about the different city commissioners and what their portfolios were and what who to call. We learned about if you have a noxious weed in your area, who you can call to control the weeds. It was fun to learn fun facts about the city, like what's the #1 street sign that's stole in our city, the court violations, how much money the city spent on removing all the tumbleweed problems that the city had last year. So the water department, how amazing it is to learn that from when the water enters the treatment plant, from the river, how fast it goes through that process before I turn on my faucet at home and drink that water. So it was fun to see the back scenes of the airport, the Civic Center, learning about the public library and public health. It was just, each department was unique in its own way. The 911, the CENTCOM Center, was interesting to see that in action. I think what surprised me is how the individual departments work so much together, and they're so willing to share their information, like the budget that they have to work with. And I don't think that they're all paid enough for what they do, but you know, the leadership, the professionalism, and the dedication of the staff, and it's just to see how each department works together to make the city of Bismarck better for the citizens that live here. You learn about things that cause fires in your home, for example. I had not a clue that potting soil is as combustible as it is, and now I keep it in a fire-resistant container. You learn things about preventing sewer backups in your home and preventing drain clogs, like with your garbage disposals, and learning how you shouldn't put things like potato peelings or grease down your garbage disposal. So it was really enlightening in so many aspects. Anyone who wants to be involved in our local government, having a willingness to learn about the day-to-day operations of our city, anyone who loves the city of Bismarck and just wants to be more involved and know more about it. I always drove River Road and always seen the water treatment plant and always wondered what it was like inside that building, and now I know. And each department was so willing to share their knowledge that if you had any question whatsoever, they were willing to tell you the answer to your question. It is a fun class. You have a better understanding of our city government. You have an interest in the upcoming plans of what the city is planning. They answer your questions. You see things that you never thought you would see, like the back scenes of the Civic Center. It's just, it was so much fun. You met different people that you probably didn't know your path would cross. And I would do it again if given the opportunity.